Welcome, everybody. As I said, this is our 10th community of practice. And as always, before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on where I live, which is the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people online today. So, welcome. A little bit of the format for today. I'm just going to introduce the session for a couple of minutes. Then we've got an amazing guest speaker, which I'm very excited about, which is Jo Kwon, who's the founder and CEO of Confit, which is a fantastic social enterprise. But I don't want to go into too much detail because I want to leave that to Jo. That'll be for about 20-25 minutes, and people will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end. Then we've got Dr. Nicole Peel, who's just going to share a really great project that is happening across Western Sydney around social prescribing and leisure, and how GPs are incorporating that into their practice. So that's going to be a little bit later on. Then I'll just touch on the symposium, which we've locked in a date for 2024. And then, as always, we've got an open floor for everybody to share, connect, and see how we can help each other. So that's a little bit of the format. Yeah, I think just as a recap, what is Western Sydney Moving? Well, what we're trying to do is reduce inactivity and inequalities in the geographical space of Western Sydney. We are a bunch of practitioners, academics, researchers, and just physical activity enthusiasts who really want to, get people moving within Western Sydney. So we've got academia, disability, education, government, non-for-profit, social enterprise, health, all the different intersection points, really, as we can all come together to collaborate and work together. So that's the intention. And we've been going for about, just under 2 years as we're building this network. So, and it's great to see we've nearly got 50 people on the call today from, from Western Sydney. So that's fantastic. So I'll pause there and I will hand over to Jo, who's going to take us a little bit through about his story and also Confit. So the floor is yours, Jo.
Thanks, David. Thank you, everyone, and I really appreciate having me here on this platform. It's really great to be a part of Western Sydney. It's very new because we just started a new gym called Confit in Parramatta. But I just wanted to kind of take it all back and just talk to you guys about how this all started and why we're doing the work that we're doing now, which is we're working with individuals that are currently incarcerated and those transitioning back into the community, and how we're using fitness to, I guess, help these individuals and make society a better place through fitness. So I guess the story always goes back to right to the beginning. And it's my story, but it's a story of many other individuals that are going through similar, experiences. I came to Australia, single parent mother. So she was an opera singer who came to Australia with a scholarship to the Sydney Conservatorium of Music. Obviously, she was on working visa. She couldn't receive any government support. So she's working full time and studying full time as well. And obviously, she didn't have enough time for myself. So there was a lot of time that I was left alone. Only child as well, so no siblings. So the only places that my mum could afford were kind of like in the rougher areas. It was back in, I don't know if you guys know where Campsie is, around Bankstown area. Yeah, that's where I grew up. And not having a father figure and no siblings, I hung around on the streets a lot. And the older brothers that I used to look up to were like the guys that were always hanging around on the streets. Didn't know that they were all gang members. At a young age, I ended up joining a gang because, it wasn't the criminality factor that I was attracted to. It was that sense of belonging, that sense of community that attracted me to joining a gang at such a young age. That this was in year 7. And I was a junior black belt at that time as well. So I guess I was very appealing to these guys. But I thought that was my brothers, my family, because that's the only thing that I knew, because that was the only circle that I was kind of open to, and that was around me. And when I was young, they got these guys got me to do small kind of types of crime here and there, and one thing led to another. At the age of 21, I got sentenced to 13 years in prison for directing a criminal enterprise. I'm pretty sure I left a big chunk of things out in that story, but I did drop out of school in year 10 with little to no education, because why would I want to go to school when I didn't feel accepted there? On the streets, I felt very accepted, had the respect, but at school, I was one of those kind of kid that was always misbehaving, because I just didn't feel that I kind of fitted in at school. I was always good at sports, but even during sports, I was this angry kid that was always trying to kind of grab the attention in a wrong way, because I never got the attention at home or elsewhere. So I got into a lot of fights. So that's what happened. And I still remember after my 21st birthday,
That's good.
I was staying at the Shangri-La Hotel. I just did a big drug deal, and I ordered room service that morning. I ordered a long black, a big breakfast, and orange juice, and had a big bunch of cash just kind of lying on the coffee table. And as I went to open the door, I thought it was room service, but it was actually the tactical response group coming in. And I thought at that time that I was actually getting robbed, because they were all wearing balaclavas and masks. All I saw was massive machine guns in my face. And I actually ran over and threw the cash on the floor. I tried to beeline and run for the door, and I actually got tackled on the floor. And then I hear the words, "This is the police. You're under arrest." And I remember still getting hogtied on the floor, cash everywhere. Everything was in slow motion. And as I was getting taken out of that room, I saw out the window that it was the Opera House. Now, I don't know if you guys stayed at the Shangri-La Hotel in the Rocks, but you see a clear view of the Opera House. And I just reminded me of myself. My mum used to always take me to the Opera House as a child. Whenever she had extra time and a bit of cash, she'd buy tickets to go watch an opera. And it just made me realize I took everything for granted in my life. And that was the last view of freedom that I saw before I got taken away, arrested, and when I got processed and went to prison. I got sentenced to 13 years at the age of 21. And when I was in prison, at the time, I thought that was the only way that my life was going to play out, because that was the only life that I knew. That was the only thing that I was like. That was my surroundings, was crime. And when I was in prison at that young age, I was like, well, what else do I know how to do? I'm uneducated. I don't have much family in Australia besides my mum. What else am I going to do? So I just looked up to all these criminals, thinking, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life. And it was funny, because I asked all these guys who are meant to be the kind of 007s of the underworld, the drug lords or whatever. And I asked them, how many times have you guys all been to jail? And a lot of them mentioned like they've spent more than half their life in prison. And I was like, if you're that good at being a criminal, why do you guys keep on coming back? And something that they said that really kind of hit me. They go, there's no guarantee in this life. In this line of work, there is no guarantee that you're not going to go to jail or that you're not going to get knocked or killed, right? And that really hit me. I was like, look, I don't want to come back to jail, or obviously I value my life. I don't want to die. What else can I do? And it was that point where I really wanted to change my life around, and I didn't know how. And there was another interesting thing that happened. I kind of observed the prison yard and everyone in there, all the different types of inmates. And I realized that the majority of inmates that were incarcerated, they obviously all come from some sort of childhood trauma or disadvantage. But the common denominator amongst everyone was a lack of education. And I used to be a part of that statistic. Remember, I dropped out of school in year 10 with little education. And I was thinking, maybe there's something there. maybe I should educate myself. Maybe that might be my ticket out of here. So, but once again, I didn't know where to start. I had no one to guide me, no one to show me the ropes. And one day I was reading this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. You know, you read a lot of books in jail, and I came across this book and I thought it was quite interesting. And in the book, it said that accounting is the language of business. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, I know a little bit about the criminal business side. Why don't I go teach myself some, you know, this legitimate language of business and teach myself accounting? So I went to the prison library. I got myself a first year accounting textbook. And as soon as I opened it up, I just started shaking my head because all I saw was hieroglyphics. You know, all the formulas in there just didn't even look like numbers. I was like, what the hell am I looking at, right? And I felt defeated as soon as I opened up that textbook. But sometimes when things are meant to happen, you end up meeting the right people, or you get put into the right situations where the opportunities come your way. And that exact same day, this new person walks into the yard, and the rumor was that he was a billionaire accountant who'd been arrested and came to jail for Australia's largest tax fraud. Everyone was out to extort this guy because they heard the word billionaire. You know, as criminals, you want to get money out of this guy. All I heard was the word accountant. And I approached the bloke and I said, look, I'm going to offer you a deal that you're not going to refuse. I'm going to make sure that no one lays a finger on you, but in return, you teach me accounting every day. And he ended up becoming my cellmate. And not only did he teach me accounting every day, but he taught me about business he taught me about business, the value of education, and most importantly, he taught me about self-worth. And that was what I needed, someone to show me, to help me to understand my own self-worth, to be able to make something happen. You know, he even got me to do my HSC from a prison cell. And it's quite ironic how I had to find my first positive mentor in a prison cell, you know, and I had to go to jail to find that, right? So he taught me education, and he was like, you should do your HSC. So I did my HSC, and we ended up parting ways. So he went to a different correctional center. I went to a different correctional center. So I was at Wellington Correctional Center, which is about 5 hours inland of New South Wales. And I still remember the day I was sitting on the yard bench playing cards with the boys, and this prison officer walks up to me and hands me this letter, and he goes, Joe, I don't know how you did it, but you bloody did it, mate. And I was curious, you know, out of curiosity, I took this letter and I took it to my cell. And as soon as I opened it up, the letter said, congratulations, you've been accepted into the University of New South Wales. You know, I still remember all that time, you know, spending in prison and getting sentenced. I never shed a tear because I always accepted the consequences of my actions. But I still remember sitting in that prison cell, just holding onto the letter and just bawling my eyes out because no one understood the feeling of freedom that I was feeling in that moment. You know, education was something not only gave me hope, but it set me free. You know, and training has been such a huge part of my life, even when I was, especially when I was incarcerated. Before jail, I hardly trained. Like I said, I had a black belt in martial arts, but besides that, I used to go to the gym maybe here and there, and that's about it. I hardly used to train. But when I went to prison, there were 3 different types of groups that I met within the prison yard. So the first group were the guys that used to gamble all day. The second group were the guys that used to take drugs. They used to chase drugs all day. And I kind of understand where they're coming from because they don't want to accept their reality of where they are. You know, they want to be somewhere else. You know, they want their minds to be somewhere else, right? I kind of get that, but I felt that that was a very weak way out of the situation. And the third group I loved because these guys were the most positive individuals you could find in such a negative environment. They're the ones that used to train all the time, you know, and that I got attracted to these guys because, you know, the camaraderie amongst this group was so strong. How did these guys in such a negative environment are always smiling, laughing, joking around, you know, and being in such a great positive mood? I wanted a piece of that. That's why I started training. Just like when I joined the gang, it was because I wanted that sense of kind of belonging and something that where I wanted to fit in. And that was the same thing when I went to jail. These group of guys that used to always train in prison, I just wanted to be a part of that because it was such a great feeling. You know, everyone knows the science behind, you know, after a training session, how good it is, the endorphins and everything, right? And we got that in prison. And that was the one way of us battling our kind of mental demons in jail, because, you know, when that door locks, you're left with nothing but your thoughts, you know. And it's funny, today that I run this business called Confident. Our slogan is train to be free. And the reason why we called it train to be free was, even though our bodies were incarcerated, whenever we used to train, our mind used to be free. Just like these guys who were taking drugs for their mind to be free, we were using training to be as a source of our drug, you know, if you want to put it that way. And there was one day, this guy that I used to train with in our group, he got released. And not long after, he came back, literally back into our training group. It was literally within 2 months. And I said to him, why the hell did you come back? Do you like prison or something? And this is one thing he said to me that really got me thinking was, no one in society accepts who we are. We don't get the opportunities, you know. So it really hit me, because I see myself in that position, you know. No, hardly any family support, you know. The only thing I know is crime. The only people that I know are criminals. If I go out right now, I'm going to end up coming back in, because that's all I know. So it really worried me, you know. And I was like, what do I do? Then, you know, obviously you have a lot of time to think in your prison cell, and all these ideas started flowing in. What can I do to help not just myself but others? And how do I use fitness, which is something that I truly believe in, that I love. It is my passion. So what do I do? So I came up with this concept called Convict Fitness, which stands for which is known as Confit today. So the initial idea was, you know, I wanted to go out and use fitness to form a community for individuals that are coming out of the justice space, so we can just kind of support each other like we did in the prison yard, but do it on the outside, and just kind of be a support network for each other. So I got out, and this was while I was doing my university studies as well at UNSW. Because I was studying full time, I didn't want to go get a full-time job. So I wanted to figure out a way, well, how do I finance myself? So I started this boot camp in local parks. And the first idea was just to support other inmates coming out of the system. But it actually grew in popularity, because all these guys started bringing their friends and their partners, and the locals started coming and going, what's going on here? What's all this stuff, you know? And everyone found it quite intriguing, the whole concept of prison style training out in the prison parks, I mean, in the local parks. And that started growing. And then one day this lady comes up to me and goes, you should really start charging people for this, right? So I was like, oh yeah. So my old criminal ways, like, everyone give me cash. And they're like, no, you should set up a website, payment gateway, and do it properly. And I had no idea. And it was so fun. It was so interesting how many people from the community wanted to help me, because I wanted to make I wanted to make that change for myself. They could see that there were this group of guys who come out of prison, but they really want to make that change, but there was no one to help them. And the local community really stepped up to really help us. And we formed this social enterprise called Confit. And mind you, I didn't even know what a social enterprise was until I went to university. I took my first course called Creating Social Change, which is a first year business course. And I still remember the lecturer in time, Dr. Ali Walker. She was talking about recidivism rates and, you know, inequalities in our society and disadvantaged communities. And I kind of knew a lot about it. And I approached the lecturer after the lecture, and I asked her, you know, well, I actually told her, I just came out of jail last month. I really liked your lecture. I hope you can help me with my business idea. And she looked at me in the weirdest way, going, are you even a student in my class? That's the first thing she asked me. And I said, yeah, I'm a first year student, but I've got this business idea, and I really love what you were talking about, this social enterprise thing, which I had no idea about. And she introduced me to an organization called Center for Social Impact, which was based at UNSW. And they put me on as a case study for one of the MBA programs. And they had MBA students really model out what this social enterprise would look like. And that's what Confit is today. And we were running like fitness programs and in parks, and we started growing. So we first started in Redfern, and then we opened another one in Roselle by the Bay Run, and it started growing until COVID hit. And all of a sudden we had to kind of pivot our model online, and God, if I knew how to do anything online, right? I don't think many people knew what they were doing, right? But the funny thing was, overnight, we became the experts in confined space bodyweight training because of all those years we spent training in our prison cells. Who knew that being incarcerated would ever become a skill? And that was the time we were living in. And COVID really provided an opportunity for us, and we really marketed ourselves as the experts in confined space bodyweight training. And we started running workshops for a lot of corporates such as Google and Atlassian were actually reaching out to us to say, hey, can you coach our employees around wellness and around mindset and all that kind of stuff? And I actually had a bit of a giggle thinking, how did this happen? And that's how we started growing. And I also established a charity called Confit Pathways, where all our trainers are now youth mentors, and we go into every youth justice centre across New South Wales to provide mentoring for incarcerated young people around the value of education, about helping them to find their sense of self-worth and providing pathways to employment and education when they get out. And yes, we do have a partnership with the University of New South Wales where we really encourage our young people to do the HSC while they're incarcerated. And they get a full scholarship into UNSW with campus accommodation if they get over an ATAR of 51%, which is not that hard. We really, really push them while they're inside. And why we give them campus accommodation is there's so many talented young kids who fall through the cracks because they end up back in a very negative environment and they just spiral through the system again. So what we do is we try to plug them out of that environment and put them into a very positive environment at university, and we provide them with that support. So we started that not-for-profit. And through that not-for-profit, we wanted to provide ongoing kind of mentoring for young people out in the community. We wanted to have a space. And at the same time, we realized running a not-for-profit is not easy. I thought when I first started a not-for-profit, yep, let's just start a not-for-profit and just go with it. But little did I know, you need a board to govern everything and going for grants and having policies set up. I'm just like, I didn't sign up for this stuff, right? But we're there now. And the reason why I wanted to start up this social enterprise gym was so that the revenues from the gym can be redirected back into the not-for-profit to run our program, so we don't always have to go for grants and we don't have government funding. Yes, although we are running programs in every single centre across New South Wales, we're the only program that runs continuous programs every school term and during the holidays in the regional areas of New South Wales. We are still not government funded. We are fully funded through philanthropy, donations, and grants. And I used to do all the grant writing myself. I don't know if you see all the white hairs on my head from all the stress, but yeah, I was doing all the grant writing myself as well. But I just thought that it would be much more an efficient model if we can create the revenues on our own through the gym and redirect it back into our programs and have a space where young people could come, do the training, and have that ongoing through care model of support and continuous support out in the community from custody, so that we're going to have a direct pipeline from youth justice centers into our gym. And yes, the first flagship gym that we've created is in Parramatta. And the reason why we chose Parramatta was because it is very central. It is in Western Sydney, and a majority of the young people that we cater for are from Western Sydney as well. And that was the reason why we wanted to come to Western Sydney. One of the big things that we want to achieve through what we're doing right now is not just around helping young people, and it's not just around helping adults that are coming out of the system who we still give employment to as personal trainers. But the biggest mission that we're trying to push forward in Australia is around that perception of people with lived prison experience. Not just myself, but many people that are coming out of the system face exactly the same thing. When they come out, the moment you tell people in society that you've done prison time, any sort of prison time, the guard straight away goes up. Your opportunities start to decrease. Let me give you an example. Let's just say someone who grew up who's third generation public housing. He grew up around crime his or her whole life. Parents have been in and out of the system. But this person all of a sudden has had this epiphany in their lives and gone, I want to change. I don't want to do this kind of life anymore. I really want to change. I want to do something good for myself and for my children. I want to be the one to change that generation of living under this whole kind of system and public housing and going in and out of jail. I want to change that. But where does this person start? What social group does this person reach out to? What kind of jobs can they go for? Without the right community support for these individuals, they're like, it's like a losing streak. Like they're gonna be set up to fail. And that's why we started Confit as a platform to be able to bridge the social gap through fitness, meaning that we wanted to create this gym so that the people from the community can come and support what we're doing as a movement, as in not just breaking down stereotypes. No, I'm saying to you guys, not everyone in jail are good people. There are some very bad people that I truly believe that should be left in there. But the majority, that's a very minority group. I'm talking about the majority of people stem from a lot of childhood trauma and disadvantage. And I think as a society, we're very quick to judge on the action rather than the root causes. And that's something that I really want to push forward society to understand that, we should be looking at the root causes rather than the actual actions itself. If we could support as a community, a lot of people that are in marginalized areas and just kind of stop the whole process of them going into jail in the first place. And even providing those opportunities for those coming out of jail as well. So we thought, look at the CrossFit model. They really build up a very positive community, and that's something what we really wanted to do. It doesn't matter if you just come out of prison, you're third generation public housing, or you're the CEO of the top ASX 100 company. When you're training at our gym, we're all equals. We're all under the same roof, and we're there because we know that we want to provide that kind of second chance. And that's why I want Moving Western Sydney to come on board and to jump on this movement as well, to go, what, that not all people coming out of the system are bad. Look at me, uneducated. I was in a gang, went to jail, came out of prison, and I ended up getting the support of Westpac and Snow Foundation, all these big foundations like Paul Ramsey Foundation. They've all believed that this can happen. I was one person that I got an opportunity. Imagine all these other individuals that had these ideas, that wanted to change, got that opportunities as well. Imagine what we can create. So that's why I wanted Moving Western Sydney to come on board and kind of understand the bigger picture and to support in what we do. And that's why I'm here to talk to you today. Thank you very much.
Wow, Joe, I just want to hold the space for a second and just acknowledge how grateful I am for you showing your vulnerability and being who you are. It's just so powerful. You don't even need a presentation. You just talk from the heart, and lived experience is expertise. And how you have turned one of the worst things in your life into one of the best things, and helping others is amazing. And I think the one message I want to just I suppose reiterate is that we're all here involved in sport and physical activity and health, but how can we contribute to the wider system? And that includes reducing recidivism, or whichever area it is. There's a lot of social issues out there. Just two things before I'm going to hand it over to anybody else to ask a question. I'm going to get in there first. A lot of people have been asking me about a site visit to the new gym. I was wondering if we could maybe organise that, and anybody who's involved could come along, and we could pick a day and maybe we could do an activity with you at the gym. So that was the first thing. And the second thing is, you talked about perception's a big issue, but what could if there was one thing that this group could do to help you and your movement, what could that be?
Okay, so the first question, yes, we'll be more than happy to have you guys in. We actually run a workshop called a Prison Escape Challenge. And we created this so we can reach out not just to West people living in Western Sydney, but outside as well. So has anyone ever heard of escape room? The escape rooms? Imagine an escape room meets Survivor Challenge in a gym setting. At the gym, we actually have a prison gate installed at reception, which you have to go through. And what we wanted to do was create a fun, interactive experience for corporate sporting teams, schools, and groups like this, any sort of large groups, and give you a fun scenario. And you have to use fitness-based activities to solve problems and to escape prison. And we want to create this as a very innovative way for us to be able to share our message forward to people while they're having fun at the same time. So yes, we would love to put you guys through a prison escape challenge, and the gym is open for you guys. The second, answering the second question, how Moving Western Sydney can help us is to be able to provide platforms for not just myself, but the individual trainers that are at ConFit who all have that lived experience to tell their stories, to tell the story of ConFit, what we're trying to do. We're not here to compete against all the big gym chains. We're not here to make franchises and get rich, but what we're trying to do is to use fitness to kind of spread our message across. We really wanted to do it through branding. If you look at a lot of the not-for-profits out there, it's very hard to do it, but we wanted to do it in such a cool way. Everyone has a story. It is sometimes hard to listen to some of these stories. They are very tragic, but what we want to portray is a story of redemption and a very positive story to the community that is not about the stuff that we did in the past, but it's about what we're doing now and what we're trying to achieve. And if you guys can share those stories about ConFit and the individual trainers through the platforms that you guys have, that would be very much appreciated.
Thanks for that. Anybody got a question for Joe? Nicole.
Hi, Joe. That sounds really good what you're doing, and you're very powerful at telling the story as well, which I think is important. But and I don't think you do it I think you just do it because that's you, which is amazing. And sort of on a side note, I do work at the other end with prisoners who are elderly in prisons, and you're right, most of them have been in really poor situations in terms of being in out-of-home care, or have really had no supports. But my question is, I had a quick look at your gym online, and what I found really fascinating, because I'm a local to the area and I wasn't aware of it, but it's all dark and it's black, and it's like my first reaction as an older person who goes to the gym every day. So we had this conversation earlier. I've already been to the gym. I've done my 15Ks and almost strength training this morning, but I don't like dark gyms, and to me it looks like a disco. That's my terminology as well. But I find that really interesting, and I have an idea of why you're doing it. But is there a purpose of why you're doing it like that?
Yeah, so
I've got some ideas, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's the kind of trending aesthetics. It looks dark, but in the photos, but when you actually come, it's actually brighter than any other gym you're going to go to.
Okay.
The lighting is because the painting is black, but that's just from a branding and an aesthetic point that we made it like that. But yes, please do come down one day and just actually check it out, because it's actually very different to what it looks like in the actual photos and the videos.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, no, there is a video clip, isn't there, of your promotion, which was on LinkedIn, which I think we shared, which is really, really fascinating, really cool. Two quick questions, and then we'll move it on. So Heather, Martin, you had your hand up.
Thanks for that. I just wanted to ask a quick question, and it's probably a little bit maybe self-serving, so I do apologise. I work in the inpatient mental health services in Western Sydney, And some of the themes you mentioned, particularly belonging, acceptance, and childhood trauma, are rampant across a lot of the consumers, and a lot do also have a prior prison experience as well. But I guess, given that some of the themes are very co-aligned, I was wondering if it's possible just to reach out to you one time to chat about potentially what we can kind of do, whether there is any potential to kind of collaborate or have you speak to any of our consumers, or, you know, vice versa or anything like that.
Of course, definitely. Yeah. You could get. Have you shared my contact details?
I'll provide your details with the minutes during the recording, and hope anybody can reach out to him.
Awesome, yeah. Thanks.
You're going to be in it. You're going to be inundated, Joe, I think. And just over to Ali at Blue Mountains Local Health District. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. My mic was off. Sorry. Yeah. Once again, thank you for sharing your story. That was a really powerful story, and I'm so happy you explained that the shit that society is as well, because that's often what creates a lot of these problems too. So I really appreciate that, as well as your own personal strength. But what I wanted to say was, Ministry of Health has funded some of the LHDs. I think Western Sydney Local Health District might be here as well, to do some work with around healthy ageing. So that might be another possibility, because we have a little bit of funding around some partnerships around working with older population as well. I'm not sure, and that might tie in with, I think it was Nicole that just spoke about some of the older people too. So that could be a possibility of looking at too, if you're interested. And I don't know if anyone from Western Sydney Health Promotion is here, but that could work, or Southwest as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. Final word, Joe. Was there anything else you just wanted to mention before we move on?
No, it's like not like what I mentioned before. Please, I would love to have you guys down there. Check out the gym, and yeah, just come and say hello. And I'd love to introduce you to the rest of the team as well.
Great, thank you. Just an amazing role model, and again, thank you so much, Joe. Okay, wow, how do you follow that? Well, you're going to have to try Dr. Nicole Peel, because we're going to just change it up a little bit and talk about social prescribing. So I'm just going to hand it over to Nicole for 5 minutes to talk about a project that's coming out of Western Sydney Uni.
Thanks, David. And I'm glad you said 5 minutes, because yeah, it is a very hard act to follow, Joe. And I was thinking, my God, I'm on after Joe. So hi everybody. I've met many of you before, because in the forum. One of the things that we've been working on, when I say we, David and I, is this term that's being thrown about, particularly in health at the moment, called social prescribing. It's been around probably for about 3-4 years. I mean, the Royal General Practitioners College did a bit of a report on it in 2019. We saw Sport Development develop a framework, I think, in 2021. So there are many associations who have been dabbling in this, and it's gained popularity, particularly in the UK and Canada, and they both have slightly different models. I would argue that the terminology is, again, a little bit of a buzzword at the moment in Australia. It's probably been around for a long time, and I know it has, through my professions and the areas that I work in terms of leisure and recreation, and it's been around. We used to have link workers in New South Wales that were focused on disability, but was defunded by memory in about 2020. But this term has come back to fruition, and I think it's come back to fruition because, particularly with the rise of public health networks, and in New South Wales, this really coordinated approach across those networks to understand what is this link between health and the community. And that's where we get that term social prescribing, which is prescription, which is the GP in theory, and then we get the social element. So, and this is the space I think many of us work in within our own areas, but we might have a particular nuance to it. So social prescribing is linking health and community in really simple terms. there is actually no international definition of it, and there is actually some research underway to define what that means, what it actually means. But if you want to get particular, the definition that most people are using at the moment is it's where health professionals have resources and opportunities to link clients with social services. And the only issue is that lots of people are using that word quite interchangeably to mean many things, social prescribing. But within these 5 minutes that I've got, social prescribing has really 3 broad elements, and they are the prescription. You should go and join a social group, or you should go and join the gym 3 times a week. And then the middle bit is the linkage, and Joe talked about that. So it's not easy to say to someone, go and join the gym or go and join an art group, because most of the people that we're talking about have many challenges, and indeed the environment makes those challenges as well. How do we then link them to the groups like Joe has, or how do we link them to your art group or your recreation center or swimming pool? And so there's 3 elements, but when people talk about it, they tend to just talk in general. Oh, we need social prescribing. So one of the things that we've been lucky to do is to get a small grant from the university and start to look at what this might mean. And what we've done between David and I, using our combined networks, is set up an advisory group across Western Sydney with experts from PHN, West, Southwest Sydney, a GP, and we have a peak organisational body on there as well. But we're trying to do a lot of things initially. And the reason we've set up the group is because we want this project not necessarily just to be a flash in the pan, where the term social prescribing may or may not stick in Australia. In 2019, the GPs were looking at an infrastructure of how to implement this within the complexity of our system. That yet hasn't occurred. A couple of weeks ago, there was another big meeting across health to determine how this was going to stick in the system. So they're still really struggling with that logistics of how the whole process will work. So what we're doing is, in essence, 3 projects initially this year, with the view to continuing in the longer term. So even when the terminology gets lost, perhaps, or gets stuck, we'll still be there in the terms of Western Sydney. And that's why the advisory group has been set up, to help give us direction. So initially we're looking at the research to see what's been undertaken and where there's some gaps. In simple terms, we're also going to work with GPs and ask them their readiness for social prescribing. And then we're hoping to pilot a program. A lot to do in a year, really. From my angle, because I work at the University of Western Sydney, I'm bringing on different students to assist as well. So we've got some honours students, we've got PhD students, we've got research assistants. We're keen for anyone to get involved. It's not an inclusive space. We're not trying to say we know everything. So if anyone's got any ideas, I'm doing some training in the coming months with Southwest Sydney. I've been talking to Blue Mountains, Nepean Health. Social prescribing at the moment tends to focus on social outcomes based around social isolation. And the primary group that a lot of the work is being done in is with mental health. It doesn't mean it can't be done in other groups, but if you think about the term I just told you about, it encompasses so many people, and many services have had to prioritize who they work with. For me, the biggest issue is, and again, I guess it is great to follow Joe, is social prescribing is great and has many, many benefits, but the people that we really need to be helping are probably not going to be popping up in the places where the social prescribing might be occurring. So if we start with the people in our communities, the GP, the psychiatrist, and the prac nurse, they're the people that have the opportunities and the scope of practice to prescribe. If you're homeless, rough sleeping, and then coming out of prison, just experiencing life's challenges, you're probably not going to go see one of those 3 people. So longer term, how do we pick up those people? And that's where I really want to get, because that's where I think we have the biggest impact to help our most marginalized and vulnerable populations that we see when we're walking and living our lives, but often too complex to help. So I hope that's David, feel free to add anything, but we're super excited to be doing this project.
Thank you, Nicole. I think that just a couple of things. We don't want to duplicate. There's a lot of stuff happening already. We just want to collaborate and link in. It's going to be have ethics approval, and we're mapping what services are out there at the moment. And after this, we'll send out a template for anybody to fill out, because we've got students who are going to help with mapping what services are there around. So yeah, thank you, Nicole. And please reach out to Nicole if anybody's got any questions. But I will just keep moving because we haven't got long left. Just wanted to touch on the symposium. So we have locked in the venue for this year, which is going to be Combank Stadium in Parramatta on the 21st of November. So I will send out a placeholder for that, and over the next few months we'll start to pull that together. There's a heap of things that were outcomes from the last one, as I've mentioned before, about transitioning this group into a health promotion charity. Now, I know, Joe, you were talking about the challenges of charities, but we really want to focus that's where I want to go with this. So Western Sydney Moving is owned by the system, and obviously we're doing it. We're pulling together a white paper as well on our initiative. So that's that. I won't talk about anything more about the symposium, but please watch out for that placeholder. And now I just wanted to give the last 10 minutes as an opportunity to share, really, anybody who would like to, anything topical, anybody need any help with anything. We've got some new people here today. So please, put your hand up and we'll just go around. So Caroline, thank you. Over to you, Caroline Allen.
Hi, thanks, David. Thanks for inviting me to join this network. My name's Caroline Allen. I do know some of you. I'm from Australian Catholic University at Blacktown campus. I just wanted to raise, I think you had the symposium there last year, the Blacktown Exercise Sports Technology Hub at Blacktown Sports Park. ACU is hosting a networking function there on Friday, the 22nd of March. I'd love to invite you guys. We've got limited spaces remaining. But I might put my email address in the chat. We're inviting sport organisations, community organisations, got some schools coming just to have a look at the space and hear about what ACU is doing that space, and obviously opportunities for collaboration as well. So please drop me an email if you would like to receive an invitation. So nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, please drop it in the chat. I'll go to Paul. Guys from Castle Hill.
Yeah, hi guys. Paul Kudris from Castle Hill RSL Club. I just wanted to put a hand up and a shout out regarding the club grant scheme. I know there's been mention about funding, etc., and getting grants. So the club grant scheme is about sort of $100 million worth of funding across the state every year through local clubs. And although I work for one, there's clubs in all your backyards. So reach out to them. The beauty about those opportunities, it's a chance for you to engage with them personally, and then the grant goes in. So the grant process is quite simple, not as complicated. Joe, you would have seen this yourself. It's all about relationships. So reach out. I mean, we've got a club in Parramatta as well, Joe, so we'll definitely talk about what you're doing there. And I'm keen to sort of understand what employment opportunities you offer and how that works, because we've got employment in that space, and we do talk to other charities who have challenges and wanting to get people once they've got a job. That's a big factor in just getting life settled. If any information, probably through David, I'm more than happy to point people in the right direction. I used to work for Club New South Wales in this club grants role, so I know the industry quite broadly, quite well, and contacts. So thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. And over to Elliot Shacklot.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Elliot. I'm from Rowing, New South Wales. I guess this is the first one of these meetings I've been on, so pretty exciting, David. And Joe, I got to say, very inspiring to hear your story. I guess the reason I'm putting my hand up is just to say that we're sort of looking, I've only been with Rowing New South Wales now for 6 months, but we're looking to, I guess, partner with people in the communities in which we operate. So we operate frequently out at the Regatta Centre out of Penrith. And so, yeah, I'm going to try and reach out to a few people now on this call and see how we can partner and maybe, you know, make a difference where we can in the communities in which we're in.
Yeah, and you don't just need water, do you, Elliot? You can
Yeah, there's indoor rowing.
Indoor rowing machines can go to other places. Yeah.
There's a program in the US in juvenile justice with community rowing in New York that operates out of prisons. So yeah, I definitely will be reaching out to Joe. So
excellent. No,
yeah.
Thanks for sharing and welcome, Elliot. We're pleased to have you part of the group. Over to Laurie. I think you're driving at the moment, so hope you catch. Is that right? Laurie Maud from Outdoor New South Wales.
Hopefully I've got enough signal. Yeah, thanks so much, Dave. Hi, everyone. So just for those that don't know, Outdoors New South Wales ACT is the peak body for all things outdoor recreation. And firstly, Joe, amazing. You are so inspirational. Incredible story, and keep going. Anything we can do to support you, we are there. Nicole, love your work, as you know, and yeah, look forward to having you at our masterclass, which is why I just thought I'd let everyone know from this group, if anyone wants to come to our outdoor industry masterclass, this is basically for people that have got businesses and activities, or those that are interested in being aware of what businesses need to do in the next couple of years. The masterclass is going to be held in Port Macquarie on the 17th to the 19th of July. It is only for Outdoors New South Wales members. However, I will extend an invitation to anyone on this call if they want to come. I just love what Dave is doing with this group, and I think you know, anything I can do to support that, we will do. So just thought I'd mention that, and get in touch if you need. Dave's got my details if you need them. Thanks heaps, Dave.
Thanks, Laurie. Appreciate that. Over to Robert Salmer.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, David, for the invitation. I'm glad I could make the time for this. Definitely would have missed, would have been very upset if I missed it. Thank you, Joe, for the inspirational and great story and sharing your story. I am from the Academy at Western Sydney. I work with high achieving students, and I think, Joe, I'll be reaching out. There's a couple of opportunities first to give exposure to your team and the work you do to the students, and I think change the mindset, start to shift the mindset around the perceptions people with backgrounds or stories like yours in our communities. So that would be a learning point for the students, but also these particular students are high achieving students. Have got a lot of talents. And in the structure of the subjects, they have to address a selected SDG with a lot of focus in community development. So I think we can utilize their creativity in working on projects and supporting your cause. And also Nicole's around social prescribing. I'll be sending an email with a project scope document. Some of the subjects I have, the students have to do 60 hours of volunteering and around a project, a community-based project. So thank you very much for the invitation. I'll be reaching out, and if anyone has any questions or see opportunity for collaborations, please reach out as well.
Appreciate that, Robert. Thank you for sharing. Over to Mehdi, Club Links.
Morning, guys. This is Mehdi Arden. I'm from UNSW Fitness and Aquatic Center, representing Club Links. Thank you so much, Joe, for the inspiring story. So it was actually fun to see that you were starting at UNSW. We're not much involved in the western suburbs, but we're very interested, obviously, and just wanted to put myself available if there is anything that we can do. One of the really great programs that we did run, and is a great story, is about an international student program that we were running, and someone from the course who didn't know how to swim now is teaching for us as a learn to swim teacher. Now, that's something that's a part of the industry that always needs staff members, learn to swim instructors, lifeguards, and I'm very confident that Joe or anyone else, if you think that there is an area that we can give an opportunity to those guys to, even if they don't know how to swim, I'm confident we can. And we have a proven record of that. We can even teach them how to swim and then turn them to lifeguards and swimming instructors I will be available and more than happy to help on behalf of Club Links and UNSW.
Thank you, Mehdi. I appreciate that. I did see Roman's hand go up, but it went back down again. Did you want to mention anything, Roman?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, David, for inviting me in this great meeting. And thanks, Joy, for sharing your inspiring stories. It remembers to me a lot of things because my background is also from Afghanistan. I came to Australia about 1 year ago. And I will talk about my story maybe later next time. Actually, I'm working with RecLink Australia. In RecLink Australia, we offer free sport and recreation activities to everyone in Australia. And we have a large number of sport and recreation activities in Western Sydney. And I'm just looking for everyone, just they have some clients or some organizations that they want to collaborate with us. I'm happy to talk with that. And we have a large number of sport and recreation activities. All these sport and recreation activities free for everyone. I'm happy to give more details about the programs if you need. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Roman. That's excellent, and keep up the good work. So I want to respect everybody's time. That was definitely an hour of power. And I suppose just closing remarks are the power of community and us all working together, with a common purpose, I think is really front of mind for me. So, this is a movement that we're hopefully wanting to grow, and things take time, but it's great to see everybody on the call today. And just appreciate you giving your time. There was quite a lot of people that couldn't make it because it's International Women's Day tomorrow and there's a few events on today. Hope you all enjoy the day tomorrow as well. And if there's anything you need, please reach out. We'll get the minutes and the recording over to you soon. And thanks very much for this morning. See you later. Enjoy your day. Thanks, everybody.